All right, I think we're all ready now. Wonderful. It is right at 6 o'clock too. Well, first off, hello everyone. Thank you all so much for coming out to Louisiana's Old State Capitol, a Secretary of State under Nancy Landry Museum. We are very excited to have this event and to have you all share in it with us. My name is Ashley Shoptaw. I'm the Education Curator here at the Old State Capitol. And we have a new exhibit on display that some of y'all might have gotten a chance to see right before this. That exhibit's in our Flex Gallery, Bridging the Mississippi, Spans Across the Father of Waters by Louisiana documentary and architectural photographer Philip Gould. It will be up through Saturday, October 5th. And of course, as always, free admission. So if you guys want to come back again and bring somebody, we will have that exhibit up through October 5th. Mr. Gould has made Louisiana his home and favorite subject since 1974. Based in Lafayette, he has photographed throughout the state, the South, the nation, and beyond. His work has been published in over a dozen books on Louisiana, as well as various periodicals from around the world. And actually, that cover is on a coffee table book that you might have seen in a lot of people's different houses. To complement this exhibit tonight, Mr. Gould will show select photographs and share stories from this project, as well as discuss the history of various bridges crossing the Mississippi River. And at this point, I'll go ahead and turn it over, and thank y'all again for joining us.
Is this good? Can you hear me okay? Listen, thank you. I'm not used to speaking to microphones. Thank you so much for coming. I'm really heartened to see you all turn out and hear my presentation and the whole business. I hope you all have enjoyed the exhibit. I have some remarks here, but before I start, I want to just acknowledge a couple of people in the audience who are well versed on the Mississippi River. A friend of mine, Ben Samuel over here, is a writer from New Orleans. He's gone up and down on business on the Delta Queen for decades and has written out about that and has stories like you can't believe about being on the river. I mentioned a bridge. He said, "Oh yeah, I was in a bar that right next to that bridge one night." I said, "Okay, that's fine." And of course, CeCe Lockwood's over here with us. CeCe's told me he had paddled or took his barge down under every single bridge along the Mississippi River, which I think that's pretty good if it's true. And, but anyway, I'm gonna talk and read if that's okay with y'all. First, I'm grateful for the opportunity for people to see the exhibit produced by the Hilliard Art Museum in Lafayette, UL Lafayette, and for the Old State Capitol to present the work. And I appreciate you all doing this. Bridging the Mississippi came out in 2020 and became a casualty of the COVID epidemic. About a week after the book was officially released, the whole nation shut down because of the epidemic, which meant that we were not able to do any promotions, no book signings, nothing. So, and what does one do? And I felt like there was only one thing I could do in the face of all that, and that was just to be philosophical about it all and say, oh, well, I mean, there we are. And then, so this is an opportunity to speak as well. I have had a 5-decade career photographing in Louisiana. I came here originally in 1974 from California. I grew up and I came here to work on a newspaper in New Iberia, the Daily Iberian. So coming from the San Francisco Bay Area, the countercultural left coast to New Iberia, I felt was as big a cultural leap as you could make within a continental US, but just amazing. And the paper, I was assigned to be the sole provider of photographs for a daily newspaper in a town where there was no news. And so this got to be pretty interesting, but it was also the best thing that could have happened because I learned a lot about finding photographs, beating the bushes, sensing when there are possibilities and this kind of thing. So that was really great. I went from there to Dallas, Texas, worked on paper there, but quickly began missing Louisiana. So I came back in '78 to do documentary work on a lot of other things, a lot of projects. Since I came back in '78, I have published, it's now 15 books, and they include the following: Louisiana Houses of A. Hayes Town, which you might be familiar with. Louisiana Faces, Images from a Renaissance, both books published by LSU Press. The Public Art of Robert Dafford. If you're familiar with the harmonica mural that's on one of the casino parking garages, that's one of his. He's got stuff everywhere up and down the Mississippi River and in Louisiana. A book called Ghosts of Good Times, which is a look at dance halls past and present in Louisiana, which was also a very popular project. And then this one, Bridging the Mississippi. I need to talk a little bit about the history of the Mississippi River and bridges on the river, because it was a perfect storm, a gathering of many forces. First of which was the riverboat industry up till 1840. It had a total lock, a total monopoly, politically, economically, on all the rivers in the country, including the Mississippi River. You also had the advent of railroads at the same time in the 1840s, 1850s, and they were becoming stronger and stronger. You know, the trains could go faster than boats, the whole business. And so they were really chomping at the bit. We need to get bridges built. We need to get bridges built, all that kind of thing. You also had the tremendous pressure for westward expansion. People wanted to get across the Mississippi River, and they didn't want to take a boat. They want to just get on a train and go across. The problem is that the Mississippi River is really difficult to build across, especially back then. The final element that made the perfect storm was just at the same time they were beginning to develop steel as an alternative for construction, and they were doing it in large scale. The Eads Bridge, which is on the cover, could you get the bridging book up there, please? Control guy? Yes, thank you. He designed this book, this bridge here, and it's opened, just an amazing project. People thought he couldn't do it, but he did. And it incorporates a ton of steel in it. And the interesting thing about the Eads Bridge, that it was so cutting edge, so important to the city of St. Louis, which was on the wrong side of the river. They needed to have a bridge connecting them to the east. And it operated for about a year and then went bankrupt. And so what the hell was that about? Who knows? But engineering wise and technology wise, it was a tremendous step forward. So let me keep on going here. Part of the dynamics of the time was just the attitude that you had people who were like, they had the boat people and you had the rail people. The boat people thought everything was just fine as it was. We don't need these bridges and these railroads to come in here and ruin everything. There's a quote that's in the book by a historian at the time: "Bridges across navigable waters are a public nuisance. There are also navigational hazards and unconstitutional restraints on interstate, and I put river, commerce. Even worse, there are crimes against nature." So you can see that the attitude back then towards bridges was like, And the riverboat industry, the thing about the riverboat industry was it had all this power and it was defending antiquated form of transportation. And, you just slowly watched it lose the wind out of its sails. Later on, after the Eads Bridge was built and, the battles over between rail and river kind of faded a little bit. Editorial in the paper stated, the undeniable trend favoring trains that geography had been undone by technology. Rivers run only where nature, and then that's sort of code for God pleases. Railroads run where man pleases. So you had this sense of the that this battle was slowly coming to an end. I have to tell you a story about how this project got started. I was traveling up to Paducah, Kentucky with Robert Dafford, with whom I did a project. We crossed, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Cairo, Illinois. The Ohio and the Mississippi River meet in Cairo, and right there are two bridges that cross right at the southern tip of Illinois. So we're going across these things, and I was looking up and I see all these trucks. First of all, it was 10 o'clock at night, it's 15 degrees out, and it was really comfortable in the car. And so, but I saw all these trucks, lights bouncing off the frozen air, and it was just an amazing scene. And I'm thinking, I should stop. I should take a. Did I stop? No, I just kept on going, and that ate at me for I don't know how long, for about easily a couple of years, until I realized that there was a project to do here, and so that was the what got me going on that. I want to start looking at the images if we could. Bingo. Thank you. This is the headwaters at Lake Itasca for the Mississippi River. How many people have been up to there, have been seen it? If you have an opportunity, do yourself a favor. It's really magical. You're looking at that, and that's the beginning of the Mississippi River, and it's just all these rocks and everything, and it's a little too mythical, if you will. Can you next slide? This is the first bridge across the Mississippi River Creek. You can see the rocks up there ahead, and so about 100 feet downstream, Mississippi River Creek. Here's the first bridge. So let's go to the next one. This is in Anoka, Minnesota. It's a very classic example of Art Deco architecture and bridges, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. I have to turn the microphone. Can we get the next one, please? I have a sort of, I guess you could say I'm an amateur anthropologist. I'm always thinking in terms of culture and history and all this kind of thing. And in northern Minneapolis was a town that was full of immigrant workers in the mills and factories, everything like that. They all lived on the east side of the Mississippi River. And when they were done with working, they would go to places like this one right here. They were all up and down. This is the last one there. And I love the juxtaposition of that historic building and the very modernist Lowry Avenue Bridge. Wow. Thank you. Okay. You have two bridges here. One is the St. Anthony Falls I-35 bridge in the distance, and in the foreground, you have what's known as the Stone Arch Bridge. Stone Arch Bridge was built in 1874. It basically transformed Minnesota and all the areas going west from there all the way to Seattle, because now you could get a railroad, and so all that got connected with the East Coast. Go back. Can you go back real quick? I just love the contrast between them and how they, it's just like so representative of two different eras. Go ahead. You can change. Okay. This is underneath the St. Anthony Falls Bridge. By the way, the St. Anthony Falls Bridge was built after the collapse of an I-35 bridge in Minnesota back in 2007. I don't know how many of you all remember that. They put this bridge up in record time, and I just love it. I look at this and I say, this bridge is so full of sensuous lines and just beautiful. And then I look at it again and I say, wait a minute, those are the thighs of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. They kind of look like that. Go ahead. Go ahead. I just ran across a wedding party photographing underneath the Hennepin Street Bridge in downtown Minneapolis, and when the glow is on the bride, I can't help myself, you know. So got a beautiful shot that way. This is in celebration in Minneapolis called Aquatennial, and they have a huge fireworks display, and you can see the Stone Arch Bridge and then the Hennepin Bridge in the background and another one further up. So it's a great way to get a sense of all the spans. Go ahead. This is in Hastings, Minnesota. This is a rendition of a bridge that was in Hastings. It was a spiral arch bridge, and you would drive up. Instead of having to go like this, you would just drive up like this and go across. Well, this bridge got very old and tired and worn out and dangerous, so they tore it down. And the moment they tore it down, they realized what a giant mistake they had made, because there was no other bridge like this on the river. And so this became the rallying cry for preservationists all up and down the river and elsewhere too. Just remember the Hastings Bridge, you know. So let's go next one. I'm gonna stand out here. This is in La Crosse, Wisconsin. There's a big old railroad bridge. I love it because it's, first of all, it's 1900 all the way, but you can just see all these wheels, and the bridge rotates on those wheels, and that's heavy, heavy, heavy industry. So, and then plus a little outlet. Let's go here. This is in Lansing, Michigan, Lansing, Iowa, the Black Hawk Bridge. Black Hawk Bridge was just this great engineering anomaly. If you look closely at it, you can see there's three parts of it. The center part only connects at the base of the roadbed. There's no lateral connection to the other parts. And I don't know how many engineers are in the room, but that doesn't seem logical to me, and if not dangerous, but there it is. This is probably one of my favorite bridges on the river. There's an effort now and they're going to rebuild a bridge a little bit bigger and safer and a little bit further down that incorporates much of the features of this, but it's not the Black Hawk Bridge. So, and you can see Lansing. Lansing was just a little town. And then go next, please. This is the same bridge in the wintertime in the snow. I went up in 2018 to photograph the Mississippi River in the snow, and the day after Mardi Gras, I just got in my car and drove into winter, heading up north. And finally, I got to Iowa, and there it was. So it's great. Next, please. Okay, this is in Savannah, Illinois, and I was over there photographing, and an employee with the people building the bridge saw me, and I asked if I could photograph. He said, "Yeah, hang on a second." He said, the project manager wants to talk to you. Okay, fine. So he's over in that trailer right over there. So I went over there. He said, "I'll put you anywhere you want to be. You can be on that boat, whatever you want." And I said, "Wow." So I got on this, there's a tugboat right next to it, and you can see the portion of one of those piers going across. And if you look at it closely, you can see all this stuff that they attach to it is vital for the bridge. All the things hanging down, you can see everything. Next, please. This is a couple of workers tightening everything down before they lifted it, putting their whole body into it. You can see the torque device they have there. Go ahead. And this is them taking that same span and just slowly getting it in position. And I'm thinking, how are these guys? They're just standing out in the middle of nowhere, but they all have safety business, and they're so used to it that they don't even think about it. So, and this is a classic example of why so many bridges had to be rebuilt. You will notice that the space between the two 18-wheelers is about 4 inches. And that's just, you know, can't do it. So that's why they built this bridge here. Plus it was getting too old and all that. So next bridge. Okay. Eventually they blew the bridge up, and I was there for it. And you could see literally the outline of the bridge, the old bridge made by the clouds, and then the actual structure falling into the river. So I felt pretty good, lucky about that one. that shot. You could go on, please. This is in Clinton, Iowa. This is a railroad bridge, one of the main railroad bridge going across the river. It actually has two tracks, east and west. This is actually, this in the photographic True Confessions department. This is actually 3 different exposures. You know, you push the button down, jump, down, jump, down, down. And so I just put them all together so you can see the light from the train illuminating everything. I'm not ashamed to admit that, but yeah. Okay, here we go. This is Abraham Lincoln, and there's a statue, and there's this on the statue. There's a sign that reads. Let me find it here. This is quoting Lincoln. I'm glad I came out here where I could get a little less opinion and a little more fact. Lincoln was part of a team that was defending the railroads in a very important historic case in 1856. It's called the F.E. case. And basically what happened is they built a brand new bridge 2 weeks after it opened. A riverboat went upstream, got underneath the bridge, lost power and flowed back into the bridge and caught fire and burned the bridge down. Now, the owner of the riverboat company was pretty upset about this and sued the railroad, claiming that they did not have the right to build bridges across the Mississippi River. And so part of the defense team included Abraham Lincoln, who was a big-time railroad lawyer in Illinois at the time, also had a lot of political skills, as you can imagine, and he was able to infuse in the discussion and presentation a sort of a common sense of wisdom, and so yeah, we have as much right to safely cross over the river as the boats have a right to safely go up and down the river. So that's kind of where it ended. That's where the trial or the case ended. This is also in Davenport. This is the site where the original bridge was. And then these are some of the lock and dams. I was taking this picture and then suddenly I see in the little view screen there for the drone, and there's a seagull that's buzzing my drone, you know, flying right in front of it. And I'm like going, okay, maybe we're done. Next. This is in Davenport as well. This is the Centennial Bridge built in the 100th anniversary of the city of Davenport. Minor league baseball team. The fellow standing up is cheering 3-1 homer, and you can see the base runners. He is also a retired baseball player in minor leagues, and so a little bit of a frustrated baseball player. But he was cheering them on, and I just happened to have my camera on a tripod, photographing all that, and so he stands up and I go click, 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 click. So. Thank you. This is a riverboat pilot going through the bridges in St. Louis. And this is the first one, and he just goes all the way through them. And it's a very serious business, doing all that. A couple more pictures from the East Bridge. This is the whole stone structure, and then you can see that stuff going out this way. This is where they incorporated the steel. You can see the arch there. I love this. This looks like almost like it's straight out of a Roman aqueduct with all the stones. Let's go to the next shot. Okay, you got a good cross section looking deep into the whole structure, and you can see how much metal there is and how many pieces and all that. A lot of that is steel, and that's what makes a difference, and it was why they could hold it up. James B. Eads, very famous person for the Mississippi River history, built the bridge, and when it was done, the people in town still did not believe that this was a viable bridge, that trains could cross it safely. And so he heard that there was a circus in town, and he hired the circus to bring all the elephants that were in the circus, and they all marched across the bridge. And that's ended that debate right there, because everyone knows elephants will not walk on anything that's unstable. So he made his case that way. Let's go on. This is in a town called Louisiana, Missouri. I don't know how many of you have heard of it. It's actually it's just upstream from St. Louis. And I just love this scene with the bridges and really get it. There's so many wonderful picture panoramas of the river that you can see as you go up. And this is a classic case. Go ahead. Okay, this is the bridge. This is the Ohio and the Mississippi River Bridge. This is the one crossing the Mississippi River. This is the bridge I crossed when it was 15 degrees out, and I did not want to take pictures badly enough to stop the car. But you can see how the bridge going across Ohio into Kentucky is all right there. You can, and just, this is the what's the term? Where two rivers merge. Excuse me? Thank you, confluence. Okay, and here's another shot of the river, of the same bridge, a mighty bridge with very narrow lanes. So it made it more interesting. Go ahead. We're now in Memphis, and this is the Hernando de Soto Bridge, which handles I-40, Interstate 40 traffic. And what I love about this bridge is you look at it first volume and you say, oh, well, that's nice. And then you notice that the 18-wheeler is dwarfed by the bridge. And I said, that is huge. I mean, then we can realize just how big that structure is. You can see the landscape and everything like that. Go ahead, next slide. Okay, this is also in Memphis. This is the Harahan Bridge. And across next to it is a Frisco Bridge. They're being renovated and this kind of thing. This is the original roadbed for the Harahan Bridge. It's on both sides. And basically what happened is the bridge was built in 1913, something like this. And the congressman who represented the area, who had the power of the purse, told them, you're going to have to put traffic lanes on that railroad bridge, or you're not going to build a bridge. And they said, okay. And so they built these pitiful little things going off the sides, and you can see the undergird for the roadbed. Go to the next slide. Now the road. This is an example of the roadbed. This is wooden timbers, and that was the roadbed for up till the bridge was replaced in 1948. So you can imagine many times the roadbed burned. They had to close it. It was just incredibly antiquated, and it's considering all the vehicles that were going across and everything like this. So, okay, this is one of my favorite pictures. This is I call this a shot where the landscape speaks. And you can see this is the Jesse Brent Bridge near Greenville, Mississippi, and I just love it. We have the local culture is speaking with the fireworks sign. Go ahead. Aha. This is the Vicksburg US 80 Railroad Bridge. It is closed to vehicle traffic, but is still used by the railroads. The nickname for this bridge is SCAR, S-C-A-R, and you can see why. It is the bridge that is hit more often than any other bridge on the river by river boats. And it's just, what you have there is you're coming to the east, and then you got a very short time. You're making a right-hand turn to the south. You have very short time to reposition everything to go under the bridge. And I want to read you a couple of quotes about this relationship. One engineer called it, bridges and vessels are engaged in a long, delicate dance that neither party wants. Said, that's very poetic. Another riverboat captain who I talked to, a fellow from Cape Girardeau, Missouri, John Craiglow, told me, bridges are perhaps the toughest obstacles because there is very little room for error, and the river is constantly throwing errors our way. So I said, nice, nice. And then he says, that said, thus far I have not personally hit a bridge. So there's an element of pride going on there. Let's go on. In Natchez, under the hill. what is that? The American Queen. Well, it speaks for itself. Go to the next bridge, next picture. Same bridges. This is a classic case where you just sit there on a partly cloudy day and wait for the light to get interesting. And so part of the bridge was in under cloud cover, and the other part just sort of radiated out. Said that's too good. Next, you might recognize this scene here. This is Baton Rouge, the Huey P. Long Bridge, built in 1940, and then the Horace Wilkinson Bridge. There's a gentleman here whose father actually worked on that bridge back in the day. He just said it was the most amazing experience in his life. This is where the old anthropologist kicks in again. I was walking along the river rock and I saw this group, and I just started trying to be invisible and taking pictures, and they quickly saw me, and I said, listen, I'm taking pictures, and it's just beautiful with the bridge and all that, you know. He said, sure, go ahead. And so there we are, getting photographed in our prom dress. So Horace Wilkinson Bridge from the substructure. I love this scene. It's something we don't see often, but I love the parallel of these structures over here, plus the boats. And it's great. And then we know this one. Yeah. I mean, I live in Lafayette, so we have all kinds of different alternative routes to get to Baton Rouge. For a Friday afternoon, we don't even mess with it. Okay. This is the kind of fog that I saw in Cairo, Illinois. This here is the Donaldsonville, thank you, the Sunshine Bridge in Donaldsonville. Go ahead. I'm sitting there photographing down by the river, and suddenly these two dudes show up in a pickup truck. They put some poles in the ground like this, and before anything happens, a fish catches one, gets caught, and they reel it in, the guy just goes in there to pick it up. And they said, this is a 30-pound cat. It's pretty fun, but when it was a 50-pound cat, that gets really fun. So I said, okay. Okay, you all remember probably maybe 18 or 19, that some boat in a crane crashed into the Sunshine Bridge and put a giant dent in it, and they closed down the bridge and all that. I was able to get over there, and this is the dent that the boat crane had put. And you can see they're trying to, I guess they just replaced all these dented pieces, but you can see this is all just hanging off the bridge. Down below is just a long way to water. Okay. I'm a fan of the Huey P. Long Bridge. It was on my unofficial tour of Louisiana for people who were coming to visit. I thought it was great, especially back in the day when each lane was 9 feet wide, and people would pray as they crossed and all this kind of stuff. But I also love this sign. I think the sign is a real historic statement as well, built under the administration of Governor Huey Long and O.K. Allen. And so and you can see they're building some of the road approaches for the widened bridge. Let's go to the next one. This is the view of the railroad's portion of the bridge, which the railroad portion of the bridge from end to end is over 4 miles long. And that's the real purpose of the bridge. I mean, it's this business about these little pesky vehicles on the side. That's all nice and fine, but it's the railroad that's the important part. So, and then you can see here what they did to the bridge when they widened it. They perfectly modeled the profile of the span to the original span. So it just there's a continuity in the way this looks. I think again, this is a wonderful bridge. The interesting thing you can see underneath all the piers, the bridge. The widened bridge was built under the original piers for what they put back in the 1930s. Apparently, they over-engineered the piers just to be sure, and they did some tests and they realized that they could take the weight. But this is another of my favorite bridges along the river. Okay. And we know what this one is. People coming, at dusk. And then this is the last shot I want to show you. Go ahead. This is a fellow named Raymond Manson. I just saw him there, and he has hands up, and I said, "Excuse me." He said, "Yes, hey, what's?" And I said, "What? Tell me about what you're doing." He said, "I come out here every morning, and I raise my hands, and I align myself with the bridges in prayer, and by doing so, I align myself to God." I thought, okay, that sounds great, and so, would you mind doing it again, praying some more? He said, "Sure." So. Anyway, there's pictures that happen, and you realize that's an important picture because it begins to tell the story. And doing the project, it was not just, it was architecture, it was landscapes, it was all the cultural stuff that swirls around the bridges. I think it's incredibly important. So, that's all the photographs I have. I'd be happy to take any questions of anybody. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah, and I'll bring a mic over to her.
Okay.
Who has
We're
the
high
question?
check here.
The first one? Oh, okay. Here.
I love your project. It's
Well, thank you.
amazing. I wonder, how would you solve our bridge problem right here in Baton Rouge?
Me?
With all of your bridge experience, where would you put a bridge? And
Oh, man. Well, I thought they picked out the bridge. They picked out the spot. It's going to be right near Plaquemine, and they're just going to, there it is. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a real challenge. I think the biggest challenge is to get the lanes widened. And I know they're doing that now, and that's huge. How on earth misguided federal bridge planners, interstate planners could basically effectively take I-10, a major artery, and work it down into one lane. That's beyond me, but there they are.
And I also wonder, how many years did you work on this project?
Probably about 3, something like that. I did 3 trips up all the way to Minnesota and back, plus a bunch of other ones just around and about. Anyway, I should also mention that I've been finishing another project, which is going to be the title of the book at this point is Louisiana, from an aerial perspective. And so I went all over the state photographing with a drone and airplanes and all kinds of stuff. So it's an opportunity for us to look at the state from above. And we don't know the state of Louisiana by standing on the ground here. Yeah, all we see is this. But you get up in the air, you put a drone up in the air, and it just becomes amazingly evocative. And the landscape is absolutely wonderful, even though it's flat. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Where's the St. Francisville Bridge?
The St. Francisville Bridge is where it always has been.
Where is it in your book?
It is well represented in the book. In fact, thank you for bringing that up. And I realized that maybe that was a mistake to not include a shot. I was able to photograph a couple kayakers, kayaking along the bank, the left bank, photographing it in the distance. And so, yes, the St. Francisville Bridge is in the book. It is the first rural bridge heading upstream. I think and I love it because you can see it from 10 miles away. It just pierces the sky. They used to talk about how churches were the thing is for travelers who, they could see a steeple in the distance, and that told them that they were now close to town. And that slowly turned over to bridges because they could usually see bridges from a great distance, and that would tell them the same thing. Anyway.
I wanted to know if in your book you have chronicled every bridge over the Mississippi River, and if so, how many exactly are there?
I think there are 135, and the answer is no. But I felt like I got a pretty good representation. I mean, there's a lot of bridges are the same, and so there's no point in just being redundant unless there's some compelling story. that goes along. I was trying to photograph the ones that are historic or dramatic or beautiful. So anyway, great questions. Go ahead.
Hi, can you tell us a little bit about the equipment you use? Your
I have
cameras?
I use Canon 5Ds with basic lenses and stuff, and then I have a drone. But the key thing that has been made all the difference in the world is also use a tripod and a cable release. And I mean, anyone who's taken pictures here, the difference between the sharpness of a handheld photograph and the one with the, we use it with a cable release and a tripod is night and day. That shot of the guy waving his arms up at in Davenport, I had a camera on a tripod with a cable release, and it's super sharp. So does that answer your question? Sorry?
She asked if it's 35 millimeter.
Yeah. Wait, back it up. It is the equivalent of a 35 millimeter because it's a digital light sensor. So, but it's the size of a 35 millimeter image. Go ahead, sir.
Important because it's.
Is it tripod important?
Stillness, but you ever shoot anything from a ferry?
From a ferry?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Harder?
I don't use a tripod, right? Unless it's, because it's the damn thing's moving. So it's a way to make sure your picture is going to be blurred. Anyway, that's it? Okay. There's got to be a few more questions. What's my favorite question? Oh my God. Well, the Huey P. Long Bridge, and then the one in Lansing, Iowa, and the Eads Bridge, and several of the bridges up around Minneapolis are just really amazing. Plus that log that goes over the Mississippi River Creek at Lake Itasca. There's a big debate that it's no longer going on, but there are a lot of people who think that the Mississippi River is actually a connection to the Minnesota River, which branches off from the river. It's just south of Minneapolis, and it goes on for several hundred more miles. It's also navigable. And so, there are diehard stalwarts who think that's where the Mississippi River is, but they get outvoted every time. So I'm sorry?
On your way, sir.
We got the Delta. Yeah, sir. Sorry.
Yeah, when did you get into drone photography? Was it, I assume you began as not using drones, and when did you get into it?
I bought my first drone to do this project on the bridges. And I realized that you can't photograph Louisiana from the ground. You can't photograph bridges unless you can look down on them. And so all the shots where you're looking down on a bridge, like the cover of the Eads Bridge, that was shot with a drone. But I have to also say that that first drone I had, I lost it pretty quickly. I was in St. Louis photographing one of the bridges there, and I was on the east side where there was absolutely nothing, no lights, anything. And okay, I'm getting a shot. Okay, I'm going to bring it back. I turn around, and the camera on the drone sees black, nothing, and the computer freaked out, and I lost control of the drone, and it just ended up somewhere on the ground, and I couldn't find it. And so I figured out later that I could actually trace where it was. I saw it was next to this flagpole that was, I knew where that was. So the next time I was up there, I went straight there and kept looking around for it. I actually found the drone, but that's several months later. And, it's a good memento. Okay.
Got another question.
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about Chain of Rocks over at St. Louis. That was specific.
Chain of Rocks. Yeah, that's another picture that I don't have in the project here, in the presentation here. Chain Rocks, north of St. Louis is a series of all kinds of rocks. It's a very low point in the river. And back in the day, you would have to have special pilots to get the boat up over all that. Because, it was very difficult, and if not dangerous. And so there's a bridge called the Chain of Rocks Bridge, which strangely has a sort of 45-degree turn in the middle of the bridge, and it goes like this and turns like that. And that's right there. They since dug a canal around that, and so now it's a lock. It's the first lock and dam going up north of St. Louis. So anyway, that's it. Come on.
Any other question? Oh, we got one more up front, it looks like.
I'm a photographer too.
Okay.
So I was just thinking, how do you start a project? Did you sit down one day and just make a plan, or did you just start going out photographing bridges and then say, oh, this would be a good project?
Well, in this case, it started because I did not step up to the plate when I should have. And that irked me, and I said, okay, that was the impetus to get going on that. And then it was just a lot of research, you know, where are the bridges, what are the bridges, all that kind of thing. And, you
And
know,
you were
so it
there
took a long time.
And you were there at a certain time, you knew what time of day? Because I see almost every image that you have, there's someone in the picture that's doing some activity
Okay,
besides the bridges. So it's,
okay.
so you just
Uh,
happen to, yeah.
You know, the best time, as you would know, the best time to photograph is the first hour of sunlight in the morning and the last hour in the evening, and then some before and after.
Yeah.
And so that was probably the thing that governed the most, unless there was something so I just had to have it and the light be damned, you know,
Yeah.
and that happened too. So
Good job.
does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
These are great questions. Thank you. It's like a press conference for a politician, right?
Did you ever get to go back and take the photograph that started this all that you missed?
In Cairo, Illinois.
Yes.
Well, I never was up there when it was 15 degrees with an ice storm, but you know, I kind of got it close when the Sunshine Bridge was covered in fog. That kind of almost emulated it. So, but thank you. We good? I have copies of the Bridges book. That's the good news. The bad news is I don't have any way to take credit card payments. I'll take cash or checks if you want, or if you really want and you need it, we can figure out a way to mail me a check. But I don't have that. I don't do enough of this kind of thing. And I'll sign them. Venmo, I have Chase Zelle, so I don't think it's the same thing. But you know, we can figure it out one by one. And I've in the last few years, I've stopped signing books like to Charlotte, the best person I've ever met in the world, you know, but you know, and it's put in my name. Because if the book is much more valuable with just that than with some speech written in there. So
I just want to say thank you to Philip. We've been friends for a long time. He
thank
has
you.
many of his books here and they're all wonderful. He has one that was about this Capitol and the new Capitol that was our signature book for a long time. And it's just please give him a big round of applause. It's
Thank you.
wonderful.
I should also say that I have copies of the Hayes-Town book signed by Mr. Town, which is a rarity these days. And if you're interested at all, we can talk about that as well if you like. So are we done? Is that it?
Yeah, you're welcome to start signing.
Well,
and-
whatever we need to do.
Oh, yes. And I also wanted to say, we do have some program evaluations. We do them for all of our events. So they're going to be on that last chair over there with pencils. If y'all want to give us your feedback, we're always looking to learn what